Hi, I'm Naresh Pillay, and today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the out-of-reach Bay Area real estate. Rising real estate and rent prices due to a booming economy have brought prosperous wealth to the Bay Area. But these rising prices have created the unintended consequence of creating an exodus for native Bay Area residents and for those who simply aren't making more than $200,000 a year. This photo represents one of the many real estate listings in demand in the Bay Area currently. This has left many in search of more affordable housing, while those who can afford these prices are becoming a majority of the population. Essentially, Bay Area residents who make more than $200,000 a year and can afford these prices have no desire for the increased traffic that comes with higher density low-income housing, while the low-income native Bay Area residents making $100,000 or less are putting large amounts of their income towards rent and simply fighting for a place to live. I believe the need for low-income housing highly outweighs the issue of more traffic for richer Bay Area residents. This is a photo of the Google headquarters in Mountain View, which was established in the early 2000s and has been rapidly growing ever since. Historically, in cities such as Mountain View and Cupertino, with the rise of companies such as Apple and Google, real estate prices have escalated along with them, changing the foundation of their communities. The average price of a home in Mountain View, California was $464,000 in 2000. Keep in mind, this is right before Google had moved to the area. To put this in perspective, since then, home prices have appreciated 141% in the same place, with the average home being priced at $1.8 million in 2018. It's easy to see just how much the growth of Google has affected its surrounding economy, and this is an example of how tech companies can completely affect the surrounding area of cities in the Bay Area. This graph provides a large range of history in Bay Area house price changes since 1994. As you can see from the set of data, with the current economic prosperity, it's easy to gloss over from the past. But in 2008, the Bay Area real estate market took a real hit along with the rest of the United States. The market crash presented the true risks that can come with owning a home, and what can happen to the value of a home with economic consequences. This crash also presented the benefits to renting a home, which provided far less responsibility in the event of an economic crash. However, we can see from the graph currently we are in the presence of new highs thanks to the technological boom, which has also driven up home owning prices so high, which has made it quite the optimal time to buy a home if you can afford it. With the growing economy, statistics show that a majority of Bay Area residents making less than $100,000 a year are almost leaving in a mass exodus, while those who are making more than $200,000 a year are arriving in large numbers. I believe the act of simply letting this happen is morally wrong, and to let the Bay Area become dominant with extremely wealthy people would just larger the gap in social inequality, punishing lower-income natives and the already diminishing middle class. It's sad to know that a majority of those leaving the Bay Area are those who wanted to spend the rest of their lives here and may have grown up here too, but they simply couldn't afford the cutthroat pricing and rising costs that it takes to live in this area. The clear solution to this exodus of lower-income residents and natives is the increase of lower-income housing or density in cities in order to keep the character and culture in the Bay Area. This is actually a picture of a recent protest against the transit housing bill, which would increase density housing around the BART area. Whereas residents who are in a great financial situation may be against this high-density housing, which may cause crime and higher traffic. I completely disagree, because some of these at-risk residents are simply Bay Area natives who want to be able to live their lives and stay in the Bay Area and not have a fear of having to move due to the influx of the wealthy population and the rising costs that have come with it. This next video gives a great overview on the current situation of Bay Area real estate.
Homes in the Bay Area are so pricey, even Apple and Google engineers can't. Homes in the Bay Area are so pricey, even Apple and Google engineers can't afford them. According to a new study by real estate startup Open Listings, high-tech workers, the very people often blamed for driving up home prices, have to stretch to buy a house. The study said the average software engineer at Apple makes $188,000 a year and would have to spend 33% of his or her salary to afford a median-priced home in Apple's hometown of Cupertino. Zillow estimates the median home value in Cupertino is $2.2 million, up more than 20% from a year ago. For software engineers at Reddit and Google, the mortgage and tax payments would total 32% of their income. Twitter engineers would have to fork over 30%, and Facebook engineers 29%. OpenListing CEO Judge Schoenholtz says it could be hard to get a home loan with such high percentages. But techies are unlikely to get much sympathy from other Bay Area workers struggling to make ends meet. Teachers, for example, who make a median salary of $72,340 a year could afford just 0.4% of homes in San Francisco, according to an April study by Trulia.